The gentleman from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, Mr. Chairman, some of our Democrat colleagues have said that this hearing is a waste of time, that this hearing is a dumb hearing. You know, Ronald Reagan said our freedoms are never more than one generation away from extinction. I cannot think of a more important topic for a hearing than this one right here to defend our First Amendment. Mr. Schellenberger, I was very glad to hear you mention that it used to be that the left and right were in agreement on the topic of free speech. I'm not quite old enough to remember, but in the 60s, 70s, the campus radicals called their movement the free speech movement. Boy, the radical left does not seem to believe in free speech today. And the free speech, the censorship that we've seen over the last few years, by and large, it's been censorship of true information. For all the words about here from the Surgeon General confronting health misinformation, and from also from the Surgeon General, a community toolkit for addressing health misinformation. What was this misinformation? The origin of the virus as a lab leak, the inefficacy of the vaccine, natural immunity, complications of the vaccine like myocarditis, but not limited to myocarditis, the extraordinarily low morbidity and mortality of young, healthy people, especially children, from the COVID vaccine, and therefore the lack of need to vaccinate those kids, and the lack of efficacy for masks. It was by and large true, but it was censored aggressively, and you know, the two of you, of course, exposed that in the Twitter files. In fact, you know, as Mark Zuckerberg told Joe Rogan what Elon Musk did with the Twitter files, Jim Jordan and the House Judiciary Committee did for the rest of our industry. Mr. Tahibi, you're an expert on the topic of censorship. A Democrat earlier asked you the question, is banning books censorship? And you said yes, and I, of course, would agree. Are you aware of the Trump administration trying to ban any books?
No, not particularly, no.
I think sometimes we have to make distinctions here. Would you consider, in your opinion, is keeping pornography and other sexually explicit material away from children, is that censorship?
No, it's a completely different section of the law as far as I understand.
Yeah, I would think so. And in your opinion, is a presidential administration cutting funding to rogue programs to promote transgender ideology when Congress never expressed that intent, is that censorship?
No, I don't consider that censorship. May be controversial, but it's not
controversial indeed, but you know, I don't view that as censorship. Again, we see that this idea of misinformation, not only is it of censoring misinformation, not only is it contrary to the First Amendment, but my background is I am a medical doctor. In fact, the name of my specialty is allergy and clinical immunology. I'm an immunologist. So to me, and we learned in like first year of medical school that the purpose of a vaccine is to mimic a natural infection without getting the patient sick or killing the patient, and therefore inducing the immune response. So natural immunity made sense to me. But Marty McCary testified about censorship during the COVID pandemic that over 200 studies have shown natural immunity is at least as effective as vaccinated immunity, and one of those 200 studies was his study, but big tech censored that as well as a lot of these other studies. That's why when I heard Dr. Fauci talk about the science, the whole point of science is that you don't label things misinformation, because science isn't a thing. Science isn't like the Bible or the Quran or the Talmud. The science is a process. You make observations, you design an experiment. Based on those observations, you test that hypothesis, and then you repeat the process. So to me, it's unscientific, it's against the First Amendment, and a violation of all of our core principles to censor. But thanks to you three for what you've done to defend the First Amendment and really defend the most essential of our rights. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back.